I don't think. Like burn themselves out trying to get everything done. I know that's high in Skytree, but you know, the folks at Johnson and Johnson are not up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm just saying. Oh, yeah, it's not 13 years old. This is live, like I Zoom one person, I can slam up with this thing.
Yeah, sit here, sit here. No.
Can I share that session? Not sharing, can I copy?
So on that note, I won't be discussing, but last time.
We need to like praise and you can have his breakfast and coffee, and feel free to go and grab it. Yep. He's a real nice friend. Yeah, they love food and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, we're anywhere with you. We're all here. Oh, sorry, nice to meet you. Oh, nice to meet you.
I've heard a lot about you.
Oh, nice, nice. Oh, the wrestling is really good.
I'm excited.
Coffee?
Yeah,
Yeah, there's coffee, there's fruit, go make yourself a plate. Kathy and Mike will be in a minute. I gotta see you. Jonathan.
Yeah, we got some time. We got these little bunnies.
Cute, cute. I don't really.
Yeah.
Everything I'm Terry. Terry, I'm doing.
I don't wear clothes. I don't wear. Yeah, I like it.
Venus? Yeah, we gotta go over there and bang on the door. Yeah.
Oh, Terry.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine.
I gotta see this.
Did you guys take any photos? Can I post stuff to Facebook? You guys didn't send me any pictures. The only one we took were the ones last night, but it's got alcohol and stuff in it. So I don't want to post any of that. But did you guys take any pictures with Cody or anything? Okay, because I was gonna say I was gonna post stuff, but I didn't have anything.
And one session.
I know you guys were running. I know. I'm like, you guys were running around.
She's in the hub now. Maria helps out. Our helps are we live in DC, but with my husband used to do a lot of fishing, spear fishing in Delaware. Lewis, Delaware. So we're traveling from DC all the time.
You made it.
Right outside.
There we are.
I'm like telling you.
And if Dan, I don't know if Dan's coming or not. So.
And he was raised in a red. And now we're back.
Did you catch the shuttle? Did you guys catch the shuttle? Okay. There was a shuttle, so we saw it.
You saw
it?
it?
Yeah,
Oh,
so I was
really?
like, oh crap, must have been just running.
Yeah.
So they want to take where we are.
Oh, yeah, yeah. She was the one that called it. She was like, okay, so I'm good then. And then we were all like, okay, and then we all went on. I went on with her. I went on with her.
So that's why we're here. Yeah, that's why we're here. They're actually bringing up that plan to go to.
Hey, I saw you. Hey, I told you, I'm serious. Yeah. I'm serious.
So we look forward to hearing, yeah, Delaware.
Great. Well,
It's true. Where the breakout rooms are. But you know what? We're gonna find out. Exactly. Exactly. Nice talking to you. Tell me about the Delta.
Hey, nice to see you. Good, how are you? Long time no see, right?
You know what's so interesting?
What's that?
When I first went to medical school, right, I said, I'm gonna be a physician and work in the Mississippi Delta.
Right.
That year, Ronald Reagan cut. Yeah. Now I'm a psychiatrist.
No,
You know,
but you know what? I think you're good. You know what I mean?
Hey, how you doing?
Here's Kathy.
I
Here
remember.
comes.
Hi, dear
Michael.
Yes, good to see you.
I just stuck that there with Kathy.
You been sitting here?
No, you.
Oh, okay.
No, you are.
We still can't go. We're all the way in the back there.
That would seem pretty interesting to see if we can get that EPA thing.
What?
Which one?
Have you heard anything?
Especially New York, deep, making the little kids, schools and stuff. They're saying no, but.
There's some like nasty like sinus crap going around, but it's not COVID because we all had it like weeks ago, and it was like lingering forever. I don't know what it. Nobody knows what it was. They put me on antibiotics. I was like, I've been sick for weeks. Like I can't be like this. I need to be a functioning adult.
One of my patients had the same thing, that
Yeah.
sinus thing, and actually, her nurse's son had it too.
It's
Checked the
been-
COVID was negative.
Yeah.
You know, COVIDs are always a cold virus. I remember they used to be cold back then.
Yeah.
Kids go back to school, they start spreading.
Yeah,
super little
yeah.
super spread.
Yeah.
So now you gotta worry about COVID.
No.
You're not related to Marlene Saunders, are you? Marlene Saunders?
Who is that?
She's in the Democratic Party.
Okay, that I was going to say. Why do I know that name?
Are you from Delaware?
I'm on the line, so I live 15 minutes from them. So I'm in Bishopville, Eastern Shore, Maryland. But I could basically throw a rock and hit Delaware. So I'm like right there. It is. Ocean City, Berlin area. If you've been down there yet, it's like 15 minutes from Berlin. So I'm Gabby. Nice to meet you. I work with Maria and Michael. Hi, Carol. Nice to meet you. Oh, okay. Okay, that's right. Yeah, I was looking at all that too, and I'm like,
But you know what?
okay,
Okay.
okay.
It's on 5 new wells. And
Yeah, sounds about right. Sussex County is like, oh yeah, let's keep building, but like we're not going to fix any of the existing infrastructure. I used to work for. Yeah, we're in yeah. This guy owns is it near me, Bishopville area, near the river?
What's it called?
I can't remember.
Let me look it up.
Oh God, it's like a
If
stupid
it's
name.
polluted, it's probably not.
Well,
He's
there's
a
a lot
serial
of really bad failing trailer park, and same thing, built on a dump. They all have septic, and then now they're trying to, because in Maryland. In Maryland, in the coastal base watershed, you can't discharge.
yes,
There's absolutely no discharge anything. So like they have to go through this whole text amendment, all this stuff to try to build a wastewater treatment plant.
Wow.
Because they cannot, there's no more. And that they do, in Maryland, they do all the stupid injection wells. Injection wells are when you inject waste into the ground. And they pretend that doesn't correlate with the groundwater and it doesn't dissipate into the streams. I said
It's
that's
magic.
they call that no discharge. And I'm like, you're still injecting waste into the ground, which has to dissipate
Gotta
somewhere.
go somewhere.
That's the one thing about the Eastern Shore that drives me absolutely crazy. Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, it doesn't matter. They all do it. And it's like, Yeah.
He's been heavily sanctioned by Sigma because he is all.
Well, I mean, I guarantee you, they're gonna pull somebody called Roush Engineering for you guys too. And those
That sounds
people,
familiar.
literally, they keep designing these small wastewater treatment plants to suffice for these smaller like communities. And that company, that engineering firm is the worst.
Well, what they
Works.
did, they annexed us into the state.
Mhm.
So we're getting hooked up to their water and sewer.
That he refused to pay a portion of us going.
Big giant grant.
And then they used the grant, and now he wants another grant to overflow the wetland. Secretary.
Yeah.
And the wetland which is full of waste, and we found out medical waste. We found out that there's someone who testified at the
BB.
hospital
BB.
when they rebuilt the hospital. The people who own the property, they got paid to just put waste around. So we are on the wetland. We've been digging trash for about since 2009, but we stopped never. In some parts, we have a car. We have motors, everything. So that
And this is in Lewis too, which is shocking to me. This is shocking to me.
I've been instructed by one of our mentors who would not.
Yeah, you would not. I used to work at Cape Henlopen for a long time, and I love Lewis.
Yeah.
But, like this is,
We did too.
but then they prioritize like governors and all those bigger housing developments that they do. Oh my God, it's
Prioritize.
monstrosity.
Yeah, the McMansions
Oh,
Yeah,
that people don't even live in.
yeah, they
No,
don't even live there.
that's-
It's all summer
Yeah.
houses. It's insane.
They work in Airbnbs.
Short-term rentals. Yeah.
Short rentals, yeah.
Oh my God,
But
They
honestly,
make-
why do
they
they
make
pick on us?
Yeah.
because I think deep down, this is about getting everyone out there
Mm-hmm.
so that they can.
Yeah. That's exactly what it
If you
is.
want to ask me, that's what.
I think so too, either that or they want BB to happen. Because we're just right down the road from BB Hospital. And BB is huge in Lewis, and they're spreading out
Yeah.
everywhere.
It's literally,
All
there's
throughout
two
Sussex
hospital
County.
systems now. It's BB and it's United Health, and they're just taking over everything. Everything.
I had in my practice, I have a young girl. So I put him to be confirmed. She's gonna send me the links that I'm gonna communicate with that. But she's a
Good.
serial polluter of the United States.
That's all. Yeah.
You're talking about the,
Donovan Smith. He, what else does he own?
he's in with this KD.
KDM.
What's KB's there?
Something.
I couldn't pull it, and then, I'm like, this is the same. That's one fanatic company, a whole bunch of them. The other has,
It's a developer.
developer, so, yeah, they're all in line together. I talked to Katira.
Oh, good, because she's a good gardener for 9
She
minutes
may,
in January.
she may be coming today. Yeah, yes, because I brought it up the other day, and I was, well, you busy guys.
It's been that long.
She was
And I
now talking to
I
me,
just
and I said,
moved there 2 years ago.
Where are you from originally?
I lived in the beach area. for a
Okay,
long time,
okay.
since my 30s.
Okay.
You know,
But
why don't they,
when I bought from a
you know,
realtor.
why do they not
And I
have?
was not told how bad it was.
Of course not. Why would they tell you that?
Exactly.
Why would they?
And now I'm just,
And
I
see-
live right across from the acre.
Where's Brian?
I'm sure Murray has already told document. Notes, photos, anything you can document the hell out of it. 'Cause,
We got
like,
lots and lots of pictures. Pictures. I posted
Good,
them.
good. Genrec needs to go down. Genrec needs to go down. I have been in communications with some of the EPA internal investigators, and I was like, you need to investigate them. I said, this is enough. I said, there's facilities with no permits. There's facilities that haven't had permits for 30 years that never got renewed. I said, you literally have people doing whatever the hell they want. No one's doing any inspections. No one's doing a goddamn thing. I'm sorry, it's despicable. Yeah. So I put fire under a couple guys' ass. I was like, I had him come down and I said, I was like, from what I've just been able to research on my own, I said, this is despicable. And then I was like, and you can't get a PIA request fulfilled to save your freaking life. Like literally, they'll sit there and deny, oh, well, we can't send it to you.
Yeah,
This is under
especially in a
investigation.
law like
Oh, we can't send it to you because you're not a Delaware resident.
But it's the same. It's part of the unfunded mandates back, oh God, 20 years, maybe even more than that.
Yeah.
And for wastewater treatment plants, they have to be upgraded, you know, because of maybe a change in the Clean Water Act.
There's pollution.
Yeah, so every state has a
I just
state
keep sending
revolving,
in.
and it's to fund cities' clean water treatment and wastewater treatment. And usually each community gets, you only get one bite at the apple like every 10 years. That's why. So that everyone can have a shot at upgrading the treatment plants. And yeah, so when you Google state revolving fund, Maryland, whatever, there's a whole procedure of how there's rules.
Okay,
and everything.
okay, cool.
It's all, it's Delaware, Maryland. Yeah. But when I put fire under Adam Ortiz's ass too. I said, get your freaking head out of one and get down there into Delaware. I mean, come on. What?
New Jersey's in free.
Delaware, Virginia, West Virginia, and Maryland. and Delaware.
Yeah, because they kept with the coastal. All along the shore.
Okay.
But no, I'm like between all the region 3 crap. I mean, it's very.
It's horrible.
It is horrible. Honestly, they should have been doing something.
Oh, I'm gonna use this one.
No, for his speaks.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
he.
wanted to slide it there
Oh,
for him. So it's still, if you were to close this one out.
It's
So they said
about
escape?
time, I think, because between the Mount Air people,
It's like
you guys, all the other.
class action lawsuit.
Yeah. That's
It's just
all
a
we
slide.
need.
Okay, I got you. And then we'll hit.
Lengthy discussions too.
Okay, cool. I got you. Yeah, I got you. Okay, cool. I got it.
Do they have
Come on
a
up, sir.
monitoring well? Do you know that they have a monitoring well?
Yeah, I'm not feeling good today.
We should have had a monitoring well out there. They do.
But a lot of the.
You
a
can
lot of
get
the stuff
access
they
to
don't-
that.
But they don't maintain.
They're not doing anything. I'm gonna do some research when we get back.
Okay, good morning, everybody. We're running a little bit behind. Was trying to wait to get a little bit of crowd in here before we got started. I'm not sure. Maybe we had a bus issue this morning, but happy to see everyone this morning. Again, I'm Jacoby Wilson, professor, director, Center for Community Engagement, Environmental Justice and Health. Today is the last day. I know many of y'all are happy. I know my staff is happy. The last day of the symposium, People, Power, and Politics. And I just want to, thank everyone for being here today. We started out on Monday and Tuesday with virtual days, and then we had a off day on Wednesday. Of course, Monday was the anniversary of September 11th, and then we had a shift from more national, international sessions on Monday and Tuesday to more of a Mid-Atlantic region on Thursday and Friday, and into today. And we really want to make sure that these sessions today are really about skill building, peer-to-peer networking. A lot of our work related to the Thriving Communities Technical Assistance Center. So I'm a co-director of the Region 3 TIC-TAC with Dr. Adrienne Hollis. I believe she and other members of our EJ family in this region are at the Women's EJ Summit at the Anacostia. Hopefully next year we won't have it at the same time, everybody. So we'll work on our coordination next year. But really excited to have everybody here today. And just want to go through a few quick acknowledgement. So I want to acknowledge our funders for the symposium, but the general work, as I said, we've been funded by the EPA, and I am a co-director of the Region 3 TIC-TAC. We also have the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation that helped to fund our Mid-Atlantic Climate Action Hub, which is providing funding to many of the groups that are doing work, EJ work within the region. And as a quick announcement, we have a mini grant program where we're giving $20,000 to 10 groups from the Mid-Atlantic region to do environmental, climate, and energy justice work. Unfortunately, not fortunately, we're a small but mighty team, but unfortunately, COVID has impacted our team. So the coordinator of that review program, she has not been able to really work on the review process. So we were going to try to announce the new awardees at the symposium. Unfortunately, we were not able to. So we're going to, just as an announcement for everybody, we're going to push that back to October. So we're going to do the review process, and those 10 awardees, they will be announced in October. So just want to do that quick update. We also have funding from Meta for our work, Bezos Earth Fund, the Waverly Street Foundation is helping to fund our Climate Action Hub as well. Yellow Chair, which is now the Skyline Foundation. Charmed is a center that's at Hopkins that's provided some support for this symposium as well. Namite is one of our partners, and they're a co-founder of the Mid-Atlantic Environmental Justice Coalition. The acronym is MAGIC, Maria. We love that acronym, right? They didn't like it before. It's like, we didn't like it before, but everybody loves MAGIC now. Environmental Defense Fund has been provide some financial support. And then we also have other partners who provide support, helping to organize sessions. Just want to give them a shout out and acknowledgement. Young Concerned Scientists and other faith groups as well. And also want to thank the School of Public Health. And then I want to thank the staff, Shanice, Pamela, Ariel, Paul. We also have our PhD students, Blaine and Vivek. We have other staff, Bacola Holly, Eli, Lakeen, who's to come on short-term help with IT, and our new staff, Marlena, Melissa, and also Dr. White. So just want to thank everybody for their support of this symposium. Yes, give them a round of applause, please. So now I want to do, I'm going to switch over a little bit, switch these slides over. Second. So we've had some great keynote speakers this week, and it was exciting to have Bishop Barber open up the symposium, talking about the moral movement and our moral obligation to address poverty. We had Justin Pearson of the Tennessee Three talk really great keynote about what we should be doing, how we need to lean in on these issues, right? You have to be all in on EJ, and also Robert Morris Collins, who talked about what we should be doing, how we can build partnerships. She referenced John Lewis's book and how we need to clasp hands together as the wind blows, as the political winds change. We need to stick together. We need to have solidarity. We've had keynotes from all these great folks, and today we really want to. We've had great plenary sessions as well. Sessions with the NAACP on Monday. Plenary sessions with a conversation with Mustafa Ali about reparation, restorative justice. We had a great discussion about EJ Goat Up in them Hills. Y'all know that's one of my soapboxes. If you ain't authentically doing EJ work, we don't need you getting the people's money. That money's for the people, right? We don't need extractive capitalism, racial capitalism, pimping people's pain. You can't be getting money trying to do this work and social injustices, and you got a system that's unjust. Right, y'all? Okay, it's not my moment, it's the Rev's moment, but I just want to reiterate that point. And if you listen online, if you know I'm talking about you, then I'm talking about you and your institution, your organizations. This is for the people. The people's money, should be used for the people's science, because I'm a scientist, right? To get to the people's solutions. Okay, y'all? I'm just going to say that again. I already said it once, I'm going to say it one more time. Okay, y'all get what I'm saying. And we also had plenary sessions that really dug into issues of financial empowerment. We had a great discussion at the close of Friday's session, right? And today we're gonna have Rev open us up today, and we're gonna have a great lunchtime panel with youth, right? The youth who are gonna lead us up tomorrow, right? No, the youth are the leaders up today. EJ today, okay? So we'll have that session, and we're gonna close the day out with a session about the conference of the parties, right? This whole climate change work, and we call it COP for short. But this session is going to really be anti. We want to do the flip that around, POC, do some people of color summiting discussions. Before you can talk about going out and doing all this great work around climate change globally, let's focus on the people here and build up our folks there. That discussion about how can we do COP differently to make sure it's been community-led, led by the front line and fence line. So we're going to close out the day with that discussion of how we can engage in the conference of parties differently and start with a stronger base here and stronger base of engaging BIPOC folks around the world so they can lead the COP. What's this damage and loss fund, Rev? Why don't you just call it reparations, right? Restoration. So being more serious about how we address the climate change to make sure those are most impacted in the developing countries, in low and middle income countries, in countries where you got folks of color who are most impacted. Let me not, keep moving without recognizing all the climate disasters that are happening today around the world. And as I did the other day, recognize the fact that what just happened in Libya, the flooding. So let's again, prayers, join hands across our brothers and sisters who have been impacted, like folks in Libya, like folks in other parts of the world. I just want to make sure I do that before I move. I'm not talking way too much. Let me go and hurry up because we're behind time. So now, what I want to do, backed by popular demand. Last year, Reverend Yearwood, I don't remember everything you said. I don't know what you said. It touched my soul. And you had me crying last year, Reverend. It hit me deeply because you told the story about a young lady and what she was experiencing, right, when it comes to these injustices and what we need to do to uplift people who are impacted by environmental injustice. So I wanted to make sure that you came back to share that spirit, right? EJ is about spirit. EJ is about hope and love and making sure that we connect those dots. And when it comes to people, power, and politics. So our keynote speaker for this morning is Reverend Lennox Yearwood Jr. is one of the most innovative advocates and strategists for racial and climate justice. Reverend Yearwood founded the Hip Hop Caucus in 2004 to engage youth in the electoral process. The only institution of its kind it's nonpartisan, multi-issue that uses the power of hip hop culture. Hip hop just turned 50, y'all. I just turned 48 a couple of weeks ago. So hip hop just turned 50, everybody. I don't look 48 though. And hip hop don't look like it's 50. Hip hop is the grounding, right? Think about hip hop and what it means as the messaging, right? Communication, talking about social injustices, So you think about the work of hip hop culture in advancing social movements. The caucus organized the Gulf Coast Renewal campaign in response to Hurricane Katrina and fought and advocated for justice for the Gulf Coast. The caucus also leads the longest running and biggest nonpartisan hip hop voter mobilization campaign, Respect My Vote. Reverend Yearwood hosts the award-winning climate and environmental justice podcast, The Coolest Show. I've been on The Coolest Show before. Love that show. And is senior advisor of Bloomberg Philanthropies Beyond Petrochemicals campaign. He is a White House champion of change for climate leadership and, according to Rolling Stones, a new green hero. So again, backed by popular demand, the man, the visionary, the advocate, the activist, he's gonna make you rise up, stand up, power, power, power with this keynote. Let's welcome Reverend Lennox Yearwood Jr. Come on, everybody. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Amen. First and foremost, let me thank again the University of Maryland School of Public Health, and particularly in this environmental justice and health disparities symposium for having me. It is an honor and a privilege to be here with many friends, many colleagues, and many of you who are doing this critical and important work. I want to say for my dear friend, Dr. Jacoby Wilson, that he clearly understands what it means to be both in the suites and the streets. And he understands how the academy should be used as a place for liberation, particularly for all people, but definitely of people of a darker hue. He understands that, and he has committed himself to that. And so with that, I hope you would give him another round of applause for all the work that he has done. Today is not an easy day, as many of you know, because while I enjoy seeing you, I am every day reminded by the crisis that we are in. It is more difficult to stand here when you see and hear 11,000 people were washed away, literally washed away in Libya. Folks like you and me who were doing their lives, going through what all of us go through, having problems with their children, going through with their spouse or their partner, trying to make ends meet, trying to do what they could do to put food on the table. And because of the climate crisis, they've been washed away. It's difficult when you see the grid in Texas not working because the fossil fuel industry. It's difficult to know that we had a hurricane that ran up through Tampa and on the western side of Florida. And before we can even assess the damage of that through Tallahassee and then through Charleston, we're still now dealing with the floods from Hurricane Lee in the northern part of the country. It's difficult when you see climate refugees all over the planet, when you see those fleeing the wildfires or those fleeing the heat in India, or those literally doing all they can to survive both either a tropical storm or a tornado or an earthquake on the same day in California. It becomes difficult because we are way past a time when we should be talking about the crisis, but we should be moving into solutions. But that is not where we are. And we are in a place, even within our own movement, where our movement is still trying to figure out what it needs to do. I'm excited that next week is Climate Week. I'm excited that that is a time where we carve out the time for us to come together. It's very important. But to be honest, every week should be Climate Week. Every day we should be marching in the streets. The next generation will pay very close attention to what we did and what we didn't do. Before I get too deep into this conversation, I definitely want to just make sure and highlight the Hip Hop Caucus team. The Chief of Staff is here, Dr. Cynthia Swan, who is a graduate of this fine institution, University of Maryland. Dr. Cynthia Swan. So I'm here this morning because we are in the midst of a climate crisis. And in that climate crisis, we will need the power of the people to change the politics around this crisis. Now, we all know that there are organizations and politicians and even former presidents who have said that the climate change is a hoax. To them, it's a hoax that flooding in Libya and earthquakes in Morocco have killed thousands. To them, it's a hoax that wildfires in California and hurricanes on the East Coast are creating climate migrants within these United States of America. To them, Black people, brown people, indigenous people, Asian people who suffer from higher cancer rates from exposure to petrochemicals and PFAS are a hoax. So I'm here just to be very clear, because I know this is being taped and recorded, that any politician or any organization that says that climate change is a hoax is disqualified on that merit alone. We don't have to operate from their disoriented point of view of reality. This is our lunch counter moment of the 21st century. And we are at a lunch counter that is not just based on equality. We are at a lunch counter that is based on existence. We are fighting for our lives. And we have a right to clean air and a right to clean water. And it is critical for us to understand that this climate crisis is a crisis of racism. And therefore, we must connect the dots that climate justice is racial justice. We know that while yeah, you can give it up for that. I like that part. We can definitely give it up for that. Well, I love culture, as you can imagine, being the president of the Hip Hop Caucus, and please go to Hip Hop Caucus to see some of the amazing documentaries that we have created. Our most recent one was done by Dream Hampton about the floodings in Detroit. But the documentary by Vice President Al Gore, while it was amazing, the inconvenient truth we now know wasn't just the climate crisis, it was white supremacy. So what does it mean that climate justice is racial justice? So let me take you back home to my home state of Louisiana. Most people know of New Orleans and Louisiana now because of that inconvenient truth, and know it primarily because of Hurricane Katrina, those of you in the climate movement. What most people don't know is that there's a region within my state that is called Cancer Alley. And if you know about Cancer Alley, what you may not know, that it is an 85-mile stretch of Louisiana, and it is home to the highest concentration of plastic plants, oil refineries, petrochemical facilities, many which are financed and owned by foreign corporations, making this particularly Black region one of the most toxic areas in the world. The stretch along the Mississippi River between Baton Rouge and New Orleans is dotted with over 150 refinery plants, many related to the petrochemical industry. What's also more hideous is that these folks in these corporations and these facilities understand that these toxins are directly related to the climate crisis. In essence, understanding that they know they are on the Titanic, but they are paving their way for our death by their greed. To be very clear, their business plan means a death sentence for my community. But before being named Cancer Alley, to show how hideous these organizations are, this region was labeled plantation country. It was a moniker that had a long history of racism, as you can imagine, as well as the disenfranchisement of Black voters. What's so crazy right now is that they are so evil. They are now building their plants where plantations used to stand. They would rather continue this extractive mentality even to our death. So I want to bring up a couple of people from my region. One is Gail LaBeouf. Gail LaBeouf has lived in Cancer Alley all her life. She is the founder, one of the founders of a group called Inclusive Louisiana, an organization that fights against petrochemicals and LNG build out in Cancer Alley. I want to bring her in because one thing we're seeing here is that throughout the country, most of the people who are fighting for environmental justice are particularly Black, brown, and indigenous, and particularly women of color. But they are not the ones who are being funded to do the work. Right around the corner from Gail, Gail lives in her area. She is fighting these plants. She's a contact. She says straight out of Covenant. Y'all know Covenant, Louisiana. She says straight out of, y'all know, y'all ain't see straight out of, okay, anyway, let me keep it moving on that. I think y'all might have known straight out of Compton, but straight out of Covenant, you know what I mean? And she's right there. And she has been fighting these fights forever. The thing, the other day, I was home in Louisiana and I ran into Gail, and she was telling me more about how they want to build more petrochemical facilities. They want to continue to do this, she said, Rev. And Rev, she says that they want to expand these facilities throughout my community. And then she hit me with this. Dr. Wilson, she said that I can't keep fighting no more, Rev. I said, Gail, you can fight because you are a fighter. She said, I can't keep fighting the same way, Rev, because I am going to die soon. I have cancer, and they've got me. And I hope when you go up there to that big school and the University of Maryland, and you tell them about what's happening here in Cancer Alley, that they don't sit around there and get caught up with the paralysis of analysis, that they don't get caught up there with just trying to use this opportunity for a career move, that they don't get caught up with trying to get the next grant or the next opportunity to fund their organization, that they don't get caught up that this is how they can get into the fast lane for their career. Tell them, Ray, that I have cancer and I'm here in Cancer Alley. And tell them, Ray, that these corporations are killing Black people. And they are hoping that we are exterminated before we can do anything to stop this madness. I am hoping that there are some good folks up there at the University of Maryland, and I hope that the other colleagues who join with them and come all around to have a symposium, that they understand that there are folks who are dying because we live right next to these facilities. We are in the sacrifice zones. I did not even know what a sacrifice zone was, Rev, but I heard somebody talk about it, and so now it seems like something that is where I live. It seems like my community that I love so much, where I had my children, where I married my first and second husband, and it seems like in this community where I've lived my whole life, before these plants were put here, before they looked me in the eye and told me that they would be good jobs and good careers, before I buried my first husband, and before I buried some of my children and buried many of my family members, and they now will bury me. Tell them this is not a game. Tell them to please do that thing called environmental justice. And right around from Yale, there's another shero by the name of Sharon Levine. Many of you have heard about her. She runs an organization called Rise St. James, and she is also dealing with the realities of so many folks in her community who are facing extermination, where they are intentionally sicken our people, take and poison our land, and even limit our voting rights so we don't have any fight within us. And there are folks like Sharon Levine who fought against the Formosa plant, which is another foreign corporation, shaking hands with the sons and daughters of former plantation owners to kill and exterminate Black people. Now, Ms. Sharon here has a strong faith and believes that God will figure out a way somehow. But she also believes that faith without works is dead. But we must connect all of these dots. Because earlier this year in Atlanta, in January, a beautiful non-binary force defender named Tortuguita was assassinated simply fighting for the forest to be saved. In that, my story of climate justice and racial justice is put together very well. Because unfortunately, what we have now realized that it doesn't matter if you're Black or white or brown, straight or gay, theist or atheist. If you are a politician who is siding on the side of corporations and industry, we are now realizing that it doesn't matter what your background is, but your mission of genocide remains the same. So in Atlanta, they are dealing with Cop City, and it is truly an intersection of our work on climate justice and racial justice. And the Hip Hop Caucus in particular has been supporting local coalitions and citizens in the backyards of Black and brown communities before the tearing down of the existing green spaces in these communities. What's important about this is that we're now seeing that when you are successful, they have been given every challenge in the book. Come to city council, raise up a referendum, bring it to a vote, raise money. Every challenge was given to these forest defenders and environmentalists. It's gotten so bad, though, that when the system, I'll call it that, realized that the people being organized was coming together, they have now even filed RICO charges against these forest defenders and tried to seize the, it's that serious. Again, when one's business plan means a death sentence for another's community, you should expect them to do everything they can. So let me say three things, and then that I think we need to do next. One, let me be very clear that I applaud this administration for what they have been doing. I encourage you to please go to my podcast, The Coolest Show, to check out particularly the last two episodes. One that was very powerful, which is with Jahi Wise, who's an EPA, whose job is to give out $27 billion. You should listen to that. There really should be no one in this room who should not go to the Coolest Show podcast if you want to hear him himself and listen to Jahi Wise break down what it means to give away the $27 billion. The episode before that was with the Honorable Shalonda Baker from the Department of Energy. Those are two, there's many, obviously, you can go back and hear Dr. Wilson, and there's many, my dear brother Mustafa Ali, and there's many, many others you can listen to. Many you know that I was raised by Dr. Beverly Wright, so obviously, I'm so glad that she's not here to talk about how she changed my diapers, and that story I have heard for the past 40 plus years, but you can hear me talk with her, and she don't call me Rev. She says Len, because when you raise somebody, nicknames don't matter to you. I didn't know him as Rev. Y'all call him Rev. I call him Len. That's how Dr. Wright will deal with that. So I'm very happy of the administration and what it has accomplished. But let me be very clear with this administration. While we are excited about the $27 billion you can listen to with Jahi Wise on The Coolest Show, I'm excited about parts of the Inflation Reduction Act. Well, it does do some damage to certain communities. I am excited about the recent rulings to stop some of the harm in the Arctic. I'm excited about the bipartisan infrastructure law. Let me be very, very clear. This is not a time for lukewarm administration. And what we need from this administration to understand is that you cannot talk about renewables on Monday and LNG on Wednesday. That is not climate leadership. Cannot discuss solar panels on Tuesday and fracking on Thursday. That is not climate leadership. This is not the time. You cannot discuss the need for a strong plastics treaty from the outside and then go to France and Nairobi on the inside, and that is not climate leadership. You cannot say that we need to have true climate movement, but you're not willing to declare a climate emergency. That is not climate leadership. You cannot say that you need for us to stop our dependence on fossil fuels, but you are embracing fossil barons at the COP conference. That is not climate leadership. What we need now is climate leadership. I am hopeful that no matter whatever else happens with the current administration, particularly for President Biden and Vice President Harris, that they understand that it is really the next generation that will determine how well they have done, not this one. We're just the voters. We're just here for the ride. But it will be those who will come by 50 and 60 years ago who either applaud this administration or they will say they did nothing. So these are the three things that I think need to happen. If they are in the room or watching this, then I would love to then tell them. The first thing that I would say that we must stop the expansion of petrochemicals across the country right now. Second, we must ban vinyl chloride. And we must do all we can to stop not only our addiction to fossil fuels, but also to plastics. Single-use plastics will also be the demise for us as well. And so we must stop that, and particularly the vinyl chloride that was imploded in East Palestine. East Palestine also showed us where our movement has gone wrong. Because while there are clearly sacrifice zones and there are clearly frontline communities, what East Palestine showed us that we are all frontline communities. A train can go through your community and you could be right in harm's way. It also showed us when I went to East Palestine with Aaron Brockovich, one of the things that was amazing to me, that one, I was never hugged by so many white people in one place. It was just a little unusual for a brother from Louisiana to get that many hugs. It was good though. I got into it at the end though. It was all right. This Ohio love is wonderful. But one of the things there, which that showed me that not only are we human, but the one thing that showed me is that when I began to tell those communities that they were EJ communities, they said that no, we're not EJ communities because EJ is only for Black people. So that shows you that somehow we have siloed even this conversation, that people don't really understand what environmental justice is, that they think it is something that is just for poor and Black people off to the side. That is not the case. If you go to Appalachia or the Ohio River Valley, they will tell you what it means. But this movement somehow, particularly from some of our other folks who are high class, Vermont, Brooklyn, and in Berkeley, they will somehow think that EJ is a subset of the climate movement, and that must be changed. EJ, environmental justice, must be the solution. It must be the prescription for the climate crisis. It cannot be layered on as an offset for what needs to be done. And the last thing this mission should do is that we must declare a climate emergency. That must be done. Let me finish by saying this. I was very honored to speak at the 60th March on Washington. In some aspects, I was the only person who was asked to speak on climate change. That is not an honor. I'm so glad that the Washington Informer brought that out. There are too many amazing, beautiful, powerful people who can speak on the issue of the climate crisis. The fact that they looked and selected me as one of the speakers over an 8-hour period of speeches to speak in the first hour of that 8 hours shows that we have a disconnect between the climate justice movement and the civil and human rights movement. There's something that is disconnected, that we are siloed, and no progressive siloed movement succeeds. And so we are siloed. So that's the first thing that we need to fix. But I spoke and I made the claim that I am not the only one. There are many like me. But it was only actually two of us who spoke on the issue of climate at the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington. Again, myself and Senator Cory Booker. I don't know what happened to Senator Cory Booker this time. I thought we would at least get to 3, but we went down a notch after that. But the problem is this. We have to be careful that we are not preaching to the choir. We have to take the words of Gail LeBluff from Inclusive Louisiana very seriously, that those of us who have this privilege of doing this work in these types of settings do not get comfortable with the setting that we're in. If you are here today and this is just routine conference type of organizing, when you know where the badges are and you know where to get the breakfast and you know, if this process is a part of the process and you're starting to see the same people at all the same conferences, then we are preaching to the choir. And it isn't so much the job of the civil and human rights. I'm so happy that there are folks from the NAACP and other organizations who are beginning to reach out. But we must do what we must do to encourage that we must break down the silos, particularly the silos within a segregated progressive climate movement. We are at a time now that 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years from now, that humanity is going to pollute itself into extinction. And we are at a time when I am raising my voice so that the next generation can at least know that there were some humans who are part of humanity, who understood that their lives would be horrible. Because if it was horrible in 2023, and it was the hottest month after the hottest month back then, and you were having, if you were not moved by the fact that 11,000 human beings, mothers and fathers and children and babies, were washed away this week, if you can sit down there and find yourself in a commonplace, in a place where you just feel like you are still going about the business of going about the business, then let me tell you, you might be in the wrong line of work. This may not be the place that you need to be. If you can sit comfortably knowing that there are those in Morocco, there are those in India, there are those in Pakistan, there are those in Canada, there are those in California, but let me just bring it on home. There are those in Prince George's County, there are those in Montgomery County, there are those in Frederick, there are those in Northwest and Southwest and Southeast. There are those right around your neighborhood who are dying every day from asthma and emphysema and cancer. But if you can sit there and shuffle papers, then this may not be for you. But if you are about fighting for humanity, and if you don't care who is in the way, what institution, what job, what political party, whoever may be in your way, but you are destined to fight for humanity, then this is the place that you need to be. Because this is about organizing people and organizing them for our survival. And I believe this, that organized people be organized money every single time, as long as we organize. So I close here in the spirit of Dr. King, because yesterday was the 60th anniversary of the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church, where we have seen that every time we rise up like the March on Washington, that those who are evil try to push us back and kill us and hold us back. And so I stand here today, not knowing who's in this audience, not knowing what fossil fuel industry may be getting mad by Rev's intensity. And I pray that I have a long life. I pray that I can see my children get old. But if that is not the case, I pray that we can have clean air and clean water for the next generation. And that one day, in the words of Dr. King, when he said, back then dealing with equality, that one day, to infuse and envision that future, that one day we'll be free at last. Free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. I can look around this room and see black folk and white folk and brown folk and red folk, straight folk and queer folk and non-binary folk and theist folk and atheist folk. I can see that we've come a long way in that. But now we're fighting for extinction. So now I call for our next generation of children, so Kobe's kids and your kids and the next generation who will rise up. So they won't just say free at last. Free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. The next generation will rise up because we have transitioned from fossil fuels to clean energy. And they will rise up and they will come together and they will say that we are now fossil free at last. Fossil free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are fossil free at last. All power to the people. Thank you.
Give the Rev a round of applause, please. Now I call myself a research minister, the real minister. So I think I know we're running behind, and we had a few issues, I think, with the bus and some other stuff this morning. But let's we can catch up or just take our time. We'll be fine. You heard what Rev said. Here for the work.
That's right.
We're gonna be here all night because there's food later on tonight that y'all gotta eat up. We'll be here all night. But if y'all have any questions real quick for the Rev before we transition to that first block of sessions, can you take a couple questions?
I can.
So any questions from the audience? Let's come to the microphone, please. There's one right there. And say your name and organization, please.
How's it going? My name's Alejandro. I'm an artist in DC. I kind of got like two questions. The main one is, how do you see artists contributing to this movement? Because I've been doing what I can over the past few years. Because I was pre-med in undergrad in Maryland, and then I wanted to be an emergency room doctor, like at a kid's hospital. And then I did clinical research at Children's National, but I'm like, nah, I can't do this shit. Like Black and Latino families would always come up and be like our kids have fucking asthma, and like our people keep on getting like cancer, like. So I'm like, no, I can't do this anymore. So I've been trying to focus on doing music, dance, design, events, and then just like trying to make the major narratives around issues that support the people. So I'm asking, how do you see artists contributing to this movement?
Thank you so much. So I actually borrowed the quote from Tony Cade Bombara, who said that the role of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible. So that's the one thing that you have to do, and all artists, is that one, artists see things differently, as you know. And actually, I grieve for artists because I know for many of you who are artists in the room, like yourself and others, that you can hear pain differently. And so I always tell all my artists to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, because it sometimes can be very difficult to hear things that artists hear that you then put in lyrics and poetry, music and dance. but it is the role of the artist to make the revolution irresistible. And the second thing is that artists have the ability to envision the possible, to help us to see a world that has clean air and clean water, to help us to envision what it means for us to live in communities that aren't sacrifice zones. So you have to do that. And the third thing I would say is that obviously groups like Hip Hop Caucus and others that are institutionalizing artists coming together, we must figure out a way to use our cultural expression to shape our political experience. So we must link that together with the policy so that when there's things either from how do we then bring forth the issue of from if it's LNG or petrochemical facilities or if it's or whatever issue may be, voting suppression or voting cop sitting in Atlanta, then the job there is to help to educate because people will listen. My job is much easier to do what I need to do if the artist's already putting it out there into the airwaves. So I just will tell you, my friend, continue to do what you're doing. I understand very much so how it's difficult for artists, how y'all think, how you see things. You can see the storm almost like how dogs can feel the storm, the rain coming. Artists are the same way. So, one, always practice to all my artists, if you're listening, either here or somewhere else, to practice care and repair, joining an artist collective so that you don't feel like you have to do this work alone. Because that's another thing too. That's really for all activists. The one thing I see a lot of activists now, a lot of younger activists who are feeling overwhelmed. We've been seeing so many younger activists literally, unfortunately, committing suicide, is because they are pulling on themselves. And I have a faith tradition, but everybody doesn't have that same. That's totally fine. But we had to find something besides yourself to pull on. So I hope those are some things that were helpful.
Yeah, thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you. So I know let's give a round of applause. Thank you for that, taking that question, Rev. We're going ahead and transition everybody to our first block of session. So let's have a good day. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day today.